Now, Floella, I've got some really exciting news that I'd love to share with you.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
all right?
Oh, yeah.
Dear Baroness Floella Benjamin, we are delighted to announce that you are this year's recipient of the BAFTA Fellowship Award for your significant contribution to the television industry, which will be awarded to you at the BAFTA Television Awards with P&O Cruises on the 12th of May. Congratulations!
Is it exciting?
It really is. Some exciting news. Can you tell us about how your passion for the arts got started?
My passion for the art. I was born in 1949, so back in Trinidad, we didn't have television, but we did go to the cinema. And I remember seeing a film called Island in the Sun. Harry Belafonte, Dorothy Dandridge was starring in it. A black man and a black woman starring in a film. And I looked as a little 4-year-old thinking, oh, wow, that could be me one day. And I think that's what really started my passion for the arts and for dancing. And my mum and dad used to encourage me to sing and dance. When visitors came to our house, my mum would say, Flo, get up and do a dance, say a poem. And so I loved performing to my family and to our neighbors and our friends. So I think that's when my passion really started, when I was a little girl.
When did you realize you could build a career in TV?
I did my first appearance on the stage back in 1970, just 10 years after I arrived in England as a 10-year-old. And then a few years later, there I am on television. I remember the first role I had, speaking role I had, in a show called Within These Walls, where I played a 16-year-old shoplifter. And I said to the director and the writer of the show, I said, listen, a black 16-year-old shoplifter wouldn't say these lines. And they said, oh, what would she say? Because the writer was a BAFTA Award winner. And there I am telling her she's got it wrong. I said, you've got it wrong. This is what she would say. And they said, fantastic, we changed the lines. And so they allowed me to change the lines. So I was being authentic, I was being myself, I was being realistic. And after that, the phone didn't stop ringing. I got one job after the other.
Wow.
So it just showed me the secret of success is to be yourself, to always stand up for what you believe in. If you don't think something is right, have a discussion and try and see if you can make it right to get everybody in agreement so that when the viewers watch you, they can see that you're being authentic, you're being realistic, and that's the secret. I always tell young people, be yourself and stand up and say, I don't feel comfortable. Can I change this? Can I do this? And if people listen to you and you have a discussion, then they will make the change.
Wow, such a brilliant story. And can you tell us how you became a presenter on Play School?
Well, when I started off in show business, first of all, my first 4 or 5 years was on stage. When you're in the theatre, during the day, you would watch children's programs. And I remember seeing Play School, and I thought, I'd love to do that. Then I did a show called The Black Mikado with Derek Griffiths. And Derek Griffiths used to star in Play School. And I said to him, I'd love to do Play School. And he said to me, audition for it. So I sent in a letter and I said, I want an audition. And I went to this audition. Now, at the time, I used to have my hair in plaits and beads.
Yeah.
I was the first woman in this country to wear her hair in plaits and beads, and I was laughed at. And I thought, I'm not sure if the BBC would like this. So I put on this wig, a kind of bubbly wig over my plaits and beads. And I went along for the audition, and I'm telling the producer, well, I can do this, and I can do that, and I can sing, because you had to bring something to the program to be a singer or a dancer or a magician or a musician. And I was telling her all the things I'd learned in the theatre. And I don't think I was impressing her that much. So I leant forward and I said, you know, I don't really look like this, you know.
Yeah.
And she said, oh, what do you mean? I said, this is what I really look like. And I whipped my wig off and down came these plaits and beads. And she said, oh, that's amazing. And I got a camera audition and the rest is history. I became known as the lady with the blue beads.
That is really, really cool. What is your favorite thing about working in the TV industry?
My favorite thing about working in the television industry actually is being able to inspire other people, being able to change hearts and minds, showing people there's a world out there that should be all inclusive. Because for years now, since 1974, I've been speaking to producers and directors about diversity and inclusion. Because at one time, when I first started off, black people only played thieves or criminals, bus conductors, never things like being an accountant or a lawyer or somebody that was a professional. So I've always tried to change people's hearts and minds to open up, to be inclusive, not just in front of the camera, but also behind the camera. And that's what I've loved about working in this industry, because I've persuaded people to do just that.
Yeah.
I've made people watching, because when I did play school, all the illustrations on the screen when I first started off were all of white children. And I said to the producer, can't we have some black and Asian and Chinese faces? And she said something to me very interesting. She said, oh, we hadn't noticed. I've got to get people to notice.
Yeah.
And all my life in the television industry, I've got people to notice what is missing. Got to do kind of things behind the camera, to join boards and committees behind the camera, to show people what should be done and what is missing, and to pave the way for other people. Now, other people are saying the same thing, but someone's got to start it, and I'm one of the people who started it, paving the way for the future, for the generation like you. One day, there won't be a discussion.
Yeah.
It'll just be happening, and it'll just be magical. That's my dream about changing the television industry to be all-inclusive and to be diverse as possible.
Well, you have been doing that, and I thank you so much for that. Your career started in TV, and it has led you to becoming a legislator. How's that shaped your work in the House of Lords?
Well, being on Play School 48 years ago, can you imagine?
Wow.
A lot of the ministers in Parliament are what I call my Play School babies. They grew up watching me. When they were little, they were watching me going through the round window, square window, arch window with Humpty and Jemima and all the tests. And they remember my passion and my commitment to changing the world for children. So when I want to make a difference, for instance, change legislation, I go to them and I speak to them about what I want to do, and they listen. I got them to change child performance regulation, because at one time, children couldn't perform in front of a camera after 7 o'clock. They couldn't have a live performance after 7 o'clock. If a camera was running, you couldn't do it. So programs like Britain's Got Talent, they had to pre-record children. I got that law changed. Children can perform after 7 o'clock. I also got ITV, Channel 4, Channel 5 to start making children's programs, legislation to make sure they should make programs. Because up until 2017, only 1% of children's programs was made in this country. I got that changed because the minister was one of my Play School babies. I've got child tax credit, children's tax credit for making programs. So I've done so much because the people I'm speaking to grew up watching me. Childhood lasts a lifetime.
What has been a creative goal of yours that throughout your career, and what is a goal that you still want to achieve?
You know, one of the things I want to achieve is to get the world to see that children matter, especially early years, and for them to see the world through the eyes of the child, to put children first, and that everything they do to realize that it will affect children's thinking, it will affect children's behavior, their well-being. People don't consider children enough. That's why I campaigned for 20 years. When I was on Play School, I realized children didn't have a voice, and I started campaigning to get a cabinet level minister for children, because everything we do affects children directly and indirectly. So that's been my major goal in my career. But one thing I really would like to achieve is to act in a Shakespearean play.
Ooh.
I have never done Shakespeare. I've done everything, but I haven't done Shakespeare. I can see myself as Lady Macbeth, one of the witches. Or, you know, the Taming of the Shrew. I'd love to do Shakespeare because I think Shakespeare is one of the most incredible things to get to understand. And I try and introduce Shakespeare to children.
Yeah.
Well, Shakespeare tells you about love, about hate, about anger, about fear, about excitement, about killing. Everything you can imagine. It teaches you about history, it teaches you about geography, it teaches you language, it teaches you how to remember, because some of the speeches are so long.
Yeah.
But I love what Shakespeare does. It brings the world to a place of understanding and inclusion. And I would love to play a Shakespearean. That's one thing I haven't done.
One thing you haven't
One
done.
thing
you
I
want
haven't
to
done.
do.
Watch this space. Come on.
And for my last question, what does it mean to you to be recognised by BAFTA with this fellowship award?
You know, when I got the message that I was to be awarded the fellowship from BAFTA, my heart leapt with joy and excitement. I suddenly felt as though I was standing on the summit of life's mountain, looking back in the valley of experiences, looking back at my career, my wonderful career that I've had. I've worked with some of the top directors. I've done almost every type of show on television. I've also had to face many challenges and adversity, but I've dug deep. I've believed in myself. I've acted with morality, with integrity, with honesty, and have had the courage to speak out. And I'm thinking, I'm being awarded this because of everything that I've contributed to our industry. I feel as if it's a moment when I want other people to see somebody who have been a legislator, but also to start with have been an actor, actress on stage, to be a presenter on television, to be a writer, independent producer, and also a regulator. Now, as I say, a legislator. To know that someone who's come from a predominantly children's background could rise like that. And I want to inspire other people to feel that they too can rise. I often used to be asked when I did children's programs, Floella, when are you going to move on? And I said, how do you move on from the future? I feel as if I've helped and paved the way for the future generations, and getting this accolade, I'm going to stand on the night and say, who would have thought? That's my family motto, who would have thought? And I hope other people feel inspired the same way. You know, 2 days before the Queen, the late Queen died, Elizabeth II died, she had my autobiography on her desk. And there's a story of when she and I met back in 2012. And I told her about my life, because she told me all about her family. And I thought, well, I'll tell her about my family too. And I said, you know, Mom, when I was a little girl in Trinidad, I used to stand in the playground and sing God Save the Queen. I was told I was part of the motherland. But when I came to Britain, it was not like that. I had to break down so many barriers. But I know my mum and dad loved me. They gave me the confidence to believe in myself. And I don't hate anyone who's been horrible to me. I've forgiven them all, because forgiveness frees the soul. And she looked at me with her sparkling eyes, and I could see that kind of connection that we had together. And I tell that story in my autobiography that she had on her desk 2 days before she died. And she said to her private secretary, I want to appoint Floella Benjamin into the Order of Merit. The Order of Merit is the highest accolade you can get in the land, only given to you by the monarch. And she said, I want to make sure all little 10-year-olds believe in themselves and know there's a bright future ahead if they stick to it. And that's why she gave me that honor, the Order of Merit. And so I want to pass on that same thing to young people like yourself to say, go for it. Believe in yourself, act with morality, and be honest and true to yourself. And say every day, I want you to say, I am worthy, I am worthy. And I'm going to feel worthy when I get my BAFTA on the night.
Thank you so much for those insightful words, those inspiring words. Thank you so much. And you really inspired all of us. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for joining me in the interview. And congratulations as well.
Oh, thank you.